welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Maricar Velasco, delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region. On today's headlines, the Philippines will dispatch cargo planes and a ship to help evacuate Filipino migrant workers from Iraq after ordering its citizens to leave following an Iranian missile strike targeting U.S. troops, officials said Wednesday. Indonesia has deployed fighter jets and warships to patrol islands near the disputed South China Sea, the military said Wednesday, escalating tensions with Beijing after a diplomatic spat over trespassing Chinese vessels. Inching across a field littered with Vietnam War-era bombs, women deminers clear unexploded ordnance that has killed tens of thousands of people. The Philippines will dispatch cargo planes and a ship to help evacuate Filipino migrant workers from Iraq after ordering its citizens to leave following an Iranian missile strike targeting U.S. troops, officials said Wednesday. About 1,600 Filipino workers are in Iraq, among some 2 million of their countrymen across the Middle East, as part of a vast diaspora that is a key pillar of the economy. Iran fired missiles at Iraqi bases housing the U.S. military, and Iranian state television said it was in response to Friday's killing of General Qasem Soleimani, one of the most important figures in the country's government. Philippine Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana told reporters the government will send at least 3 military cargo planes and a newly built Coast Guard ship to get Filipinos out of harm's way.
The two battalions will not be there to engage in combat with anybody, but to facilitate or help assist in the repatriation of the OFWs, especially in Iraq.
All Filipinos in Iran and Iraq, even those in Libya who are willing to come home due to the tensions in the Middle East, will be brought home, especially if they are in danger. Meanwhile, President Duterte said that his government can allow U.S. planes and ships in the country only for refueling, but nothing more than that. He has ruled out for now the possibility of allowing the Philippine military to fight alongside U.S. troops in Iran.
Out of the question. Out of the question. Unless the national interest would demand it, and it will be decided not by me, but me and Congress.
Under the Mutual Defense Treaty, the Philippines and the United States will help each other if either of them is under external armed attack in the Pacific. The treaty was signed on August 30, 1951. The president, however, refused to let the United States turn the Philippines into a missile launch site.
Well, they have the bases. We will continue to visiting forces agreement. We will continue to respect it in transit. But to use the Philippines as a launching pad to fly the missiles and the rockets, I do not think that I have to stop them.
Presidential Communications Operations Office, or PCOO, Secretary Martin Andanar on Wednesday called on Filipinos residing and working in Baghdad to closely coordinate with the Philippines Embassy in Iraq to ensure their security and safety. The Philippine Embassy in Iraq announced earlier Wednesday that President Rodrigo Duterte has ordered all Filipinos living and working in Iraq to return to the Philippines. Some 4,000 Filipinos are living and working in Iraq, DFA data showed. The order to repatriate Filipinos in Iraq came after the highest threat alert was raised in Baghdad amid the escalating tensions between the U.S. and Iraq. Alert Level 4, which calls for mandatory repatriation and forced evacuation, is issued when there is a large-scale internal conflict or full-blown external account, according to the DFA's website. Iran's top military commander Qasem Soleimani was assassinated in a U.S. airstrike conducted in Baghdad, Iraq last week, a move that prompted Iran to pledge retaliation against the U.S. Andanar said the Duterte government would continue monitoring the situation of the Filipino residents and workers in Iraq. In a press conference held earlier Wednesday, Budget Assistant Secretary Rolando Toledo said about 1.8 billion pesos in government funds can be tapped for the repatriation of Filipinos in the Middle East. Toledo said 1.29 billion pesos of the total 1.8 billion fund allocated for the OFW's repatriation would be taken from the DFA allocation. The other 100 million pesos will come from the Overseas Workers Welfare Administration, while the remaining 500 million pesos is a free fund. The remains of Jeneline Villavende, the overseas Filipino worker who was allegedly beaten to death by her employer, arrived in Manila on Wednesday afternoon. Foreign Affairs Secretary Teodoro Locsin Jr. met with her kin before her arrival and provided them with 100,000 pesos financial assistance. Locsin vowed to continue to provide legal and other appropriate assistance to the family until justice is served and the perpetrators are punished. Locsin posted in his Twitter account, "I'm gonna get that native recruiter who sent her to her torment," adding, quote, "She, Villavende, was just 5 months in their employ and her torture began relieved only by the few seconds she was given for phone calls to her family whose typhoon destroyed dwelling she wanted to rebuild. Then no more calls. Gave family 100,000 pesos, so that's 20,000 for every month of her agony," he added. A partial deployment ban for OFWs to Kuwait has been in effect because of Villavende's death. Speaker Alan Peter Cayetano on Wednesday labeled as very unfair Vice President Leni Robredo's assessment that President Rodrigo Duterte's anti-illegal drugs campaign is a massive failure. Cayetano said Robredo failed to compare the results of the anti-drug efforts in the previous and current administration, as it could be used as a basis to conclude whether the campaign was successful or not. Cayetano also noted that it is difficult to obtain accurate data on illegal drugs in the country given the very nature of the issue, arguing that other countries only present estimates. The speaker invited Robredo to attend a congressional hearing to present the facts on the government's crackdown against illegal drugs. Robredo, who served as co-chairperson of ICAD for 18 days, claimed Monday that the Duterte administration's 3-year drug war only seized less than 1% of the total shabu supply in the country. Citing police data, Robredo said the approximate consumption of shabu in the country is 3,000 kilos weekly, or about 156,000 kilos a year. She also noted that only 1.4 billion pesos worth of illegal drugs has been apprehended, despite the fact that around 1.3 trillion pesos worth of shabu circulates nationwide.
Net 25 is now available on OSN, the largest entertainment network in the Middle East and North Africa. Watch your favorite Net 25 shows on OSN Channel 725, same day as the Philippines. Net 25 shows live and on demand anytime, anywhere, on any mobile device on OSN Play.
Events happen around us all the time, in our community, in our country, around the world. Events that affect people, move communities, or simply inspire us. Interesting events that people need to know. In these interesting times, we continue to be a competent partner in delivering news about these events. Fast, accurate, balanced, eagle news, because we live in interesting times.
Welcome back. Indonesia has deployed fighter jets and warships to patrol islands near the disputed South China Sea, the military said Wednesday, escalating tensions with Beijing after a diplomatic spat on trespassing Chinese vessels. President Joko Widodo also headed Wednesday to the fishing-rich waters around the Natuna Islands, which border the South China Sea, most of which is claimed by China, despite competing claims from other Southeast Asian nations, including Vietnam, the Philippines, and Malaysia. The Indonesian military said it had deployed 8 warships and 4 jet fighters ahead of Widodo's visit in an apparent bid to assert its sovereignty over the region. A Chinese Coast Guard vessel was spotted in Indonesia's exclusive economic zone Wednesday, the government said. The Air Force said fighter jets had also been deployed. China's foreign ministry downplayed the incident and said there was no dispute over territorial sovereignty between Beijing and Jakarta, though the two have overlapping claims for maritime rights in the South China Sea. Indonesia does not lay claim in the South China Sea, however, said it would not tolerate incursions by China, a key trading partner, into its nearby waters. At a press briefing on Beijing on Wednesday, spokesman Geng Shuang said they are willing to continue to properly handle differences with Indonesia. China and Indonesia have always maintained communication through diplomatic channels on this matter. Indonesia's move to send in warships follows the deployment on Friday of around 600 personnel from the Navy, Army, and Air Force to Natuna as the military launched what it called a regular patrol to secure the area due to the presence of foreign vessels in Indonesian waters.
China has an indisputable sovereignty over the island in South China Sea and the adjacent waters, and it enjoys sovereign rights and the jurisdiction in the relevant.
Terus saya ulang lagi, saya ke sini juga ingin memastikan penegakan hukum atas hak berdaulat kita, hak berdaulat negara kita, Indonesia, atas kekayaan sumber daya alam laut kita di zona ekonomi eksklusif.
Do you speak English, sir? Do you speak English?
President Rodrigo Duterte said on Wednesday he has ordered the government's lawyers to transmit the new water concession contracts to 2 water concessionaires, Manila Water and Maynilad. Speaking before the new presidential appointees, Duterte said he is giving the water companies the option to either accept the fresh deal or just let the government take over the water distribution system.
You know, we are facing problems in and out of our country, grave problems. Locally, it's the water issue. And I have given the go signal to our lawyers to present it to the concessionaires. And so I gave them the choice, not an ultimatum. We do not do that because we do not own government. Sinabi ko sa kanila, sign the new contract because if you don't, I will nationalize, take over the operations, and I will send you to jail. I have 2 years to do that, and I can do it.
Duterte's tirades against the 2 water firms started when the Permanent Court of Arbitration in Singapore, in its separate rulings, ordered the Philippine government to pay 3.4 billion pesos and 7.39 billion pesos to Maynilad and Manila Water, respectively. The Singapore court made the ruling following the losses the two water firms allegedly suffered due to non-implementation of increases in water rates. The president insisted that the existing deals with Manila Water and Maynilad that contain onerous provisions are null and void from the very start. He also maintained that the present water contracts violate Republic Act 3019 or the Anti-Graft and Practices Act.
But having been a prosecutor for so many years, my instinct really was, to me and to the lawyers here, if you read the contract, you just use your two eyes, you will notice that right at the beginning, it is already null and void. Yun ang mahirap. And if I go against one, I will go against all. It was really, at that time, a conspiracy to defraud government. At makita mo, if you place the two documents, the Republic Act 3019, that's the anti-graft and corrupt practices, and you place them face-to-face with the contract of the consumers, distributors, you would notice that all of the prohibited transactions in the anti-graft law are really in the document itself. And that contract was never shown to the public, kept out.
In a chance interview on the sidelines of the mass oath-taking of presidential appointees, Panelo said the new water deal is still being fixed because there are mechanics that still need to be settled. Cambodia's garment workers, the majority of whom are women, make dicey daily commutes in a country where road accidents are a leading cause of death. Watch this.
Làm khác của mình sự tham tiếp tục luôn này, chẳng hay dùng khơi nó khác tới của xa đạch lê đạch franc hay cái công khác quạt bao bò rồi cái thằng khác thì steel rồi có ai tham miền trên sự vâng nó luôn khác tiếp ta chôn đằng phải chụp vào quạt nó miền bàn đến số kịch tôi chẳng ta room xong từng ông nó hay là thừa ao ở bành hà nó việc cả làm chỉ nhập nhót.
I am here at Gastown, which is a National Historic Site in Vancouver, British Columbia. Located in Vancouver's oldest neighborhood is the steam-powered clock, which is Gastown's most famous landmark. Make sure to tune in to Digital Nest every Tuesday and Thursday at 7:30 p.m., I am Lou Aquino, EBC correspondent, and I am 1 with 25.
Welcome back. Inching across a field littered with Vietnam War-era bombs, women deminers clear unexploded ordnance that has killed tens of thousands of people. Officials say clearing the entire country could take up to 100 years.
Khi mà chồng tôi đã bị vật liệu đi làm đã vật liệu đã nổ rồi thì lúc đó cái động lực của tôi là muốn thúc đẩy là tôi phải đi làm để làm sạch những cái vật liệu nổ ở trên đất để cho làm sạch cho những cái người dân họ không vấp ngã giống như chồng của tôi được.
Getting to the bottom of the rifle, then shot to explode, obviously.
And that is latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Maricar Velasco and I'm 1 with 25.
Now in its 51st year, Eagle Broadcasting Corporation has held various child care and development